Dongmin faced a choice that would affect the entire outer spiral region. He could easily destroy the disabled Vorth ships and eliminate all witnesses to his vessel's true capabilities. It would be simple and clean. No one would ever know exactly what had happened to Commander Velthak and his raiding force, but that would not serve his real purpose. "Commander Velthak," he said over the communication system, "I am going to do something that might surprise you." "What do you mean?" the Vorth commander asked suspiciously. "I am going to let you live," Dongmin replied. "You and all of your crew will survive this encounter, but you will not leave unchanged." Dongmin activated his ship's medical systems. Advanced robotic arms extended from the Serenity's edge and moved toward the disabled cruiser. The arms carried sophisticated human medical equipment designed for emergency treatment in space. "Do not resist," Dongmin warned. "My medical systems are programmed to help you, but they can also defend themselves if threatened." The robotic arms attached to the Vorth cruiser's hull and began cutting through the armor plating. Within minutes, they had created openings that allowed medical drones to enter the ship. The small flying robots moved through the corridors, scanning each crew member and providing treatment for injuries. But the medical drones were doing more than just healing wounds. Each Vorth pirate received a small injection that contained a microscopic tracking device. The device was completely harmless and would dissolve naturally after 1 year. But until then, it would broadcast the location of anyone who attacked human civilian vessels. "What have you done to my crew?" Velthak demanded as he watched the drones work. "I have given them a choice," Dongmin explained. "The devices they now carry will activate if they participate in attacks on human ships. When that happens, Human Defense Force patrols will know exactly where to find them. Your crew can continue their criminal activities if they choose, but they can no longer target human civilians." The medical treatment continued for 2 hours. Every injured Vorth received care, and the ship's life support systems were repaired to basic functionality. The crew would be able to breathe and survive, but their weapons and engines remained disabled. While the medical work proceeded, Dongmin was downloading information from the Vorth ship's computers. Navigation logs, communication records, personnel files, financial transactions, everything that would help human intelligence services understand the full scope of pirate operations in the region. "You are stealing our data," Velthak accused. "I am collecting evidence," Dongmin corrected. "Evidence of piracy, murder, slavery, and dozens of other crimes. This information will be used to locate your victims and return stolen property to its rightful owners." The download completed just as the medical drones finished their work. Dongmin recalled his equipment and prepared to leave. But first he had one more message to deliver. "Commander Velthak, I want you to record something for me," he said. "Your ship's computers are still capable of making recordings, even though most other systems are offline." "I will not help you with your human propaganda," Velthak replied angrily. "You will record this message," Dongmin said firmly, "or I will leave you here to drift until your life support fails. The choice is yours." Faced with that alternative, Velthak activated his recording system. "State your name and position," Dongmin instructed. "Commander Velthak of the Vorth Syndicate," the alien said reluctantly. "Now explain what happened here today." Velthak was silent for a moment, then began speaking in a defeated voice. "We attacked what we believed was a human cargo ship. It was not a cargo ship. It was a military vessel with advanced weapons and defenses. The human captain defeated our entire raiding force without even trying very hard. And what lesson have you learned from this experience? That humans are not easy prey," Velthak admitted. "That their ships are more dangerous than they appear. That attacking human vessels is a mistake that costs more than any possible profit." "Good," Dongmin said. "Now transmit that recording on all pirate communication frequencies. I want every criminal organization in the outer spiral to hear it." The recording was broadcast immediately. Within hours, it would reach every pirate base, smuggler den, and criminal haven in the region. Word would spread quickly through the underworld networks about what happened when someone attacked the wrong human ship. But the recording was only part of Dongmin's plan. He also sent a detailed report to Admiral Hai Jin at Human Defense Force headquarters. The report included all the intelligence he had gathered, complete tactical analysis of the encounter, and recommendations for follow-up operations. The response came back within an hour. Admiral Hai Jin thanked him for his excellent work and informed him that coordinated strikes against Vorth Syndicate targets had been highly successful. 15 major bases had been destroyed or captured. Over 200 pirates had been arrested. The syndicate's leadership structure had been completely dismantled. More importantly, the admiral told him that word of his encounter was already spreading through both legal and illegal channels. Other pirate organizations were pulling back from human shipping routes. Some were even relocating their operations to avoid any possibility of encountering human military vessels. Dongmin powered up his engines and prepared to continue his journey. The Serenity's Edge once again looked like a simple cargo ship, its military systems hidden beneath panels of fake rust and damage. But now every criminal in the outer spiral would look at human vessels differently. As he flew away from the disabled Vorth ships, Dongmin received a priority message from Human Defense Force Command. It was a commendation for his actions and news that pirate attacks on human shipping had dropped by 70% in just the past day. The best defense, he said to himself as he watched the stars, is making sure your enemies know the price of aggression. 3 days later, Dongmin delivered his cargo to the allied species as planned. The prototype weapons and technology would help them defend their own worlds against criminal threats. But more than that, word of what had happened in the Keth Nebula was spreading to friendly governments throughout the galaxy. Other species were learning that humans did not just defend themselves effectively. They made examples of those who threatened them. They turned their enemies' attacks into opportunities to gather intelligence and launch counterstrikes. Most importantly, they ensured that every criminal organization knew the consequences of targeting human lives and property. The message was clear throughout the outer spiral. Humans might look like easy targets, but appearances could be very deceiving, and any pirate foolish enough to test that assumption would quickly regret their decision. Commander Velthak and his surviving crew were eventually rescued by other pirates and taken to a hidden base for medical treatment. But they never forgot their encounter with Captain Dongmin, and they made sure that every criminal they met understood one simple truth. Never attack a human ship unless you are prepared to face the full might of human military technology. Dongmin pressed the activation switch. Immediately, the Serenity's Edge transformed from a helpless cargo ship into something very different. Hidden panels slid open throughout the vessel, releasing a carefully designed mixture of gases into the air. The gas was not deadly, but it was specifically created to affect Vorth breathing systems. The Vorth pirates inside his ship began coughing and gasping. Their four-armed bodies started to move more slowly as the gas affected their nervous systems. Within seconds, they were struggling to stay conscious. What is happening? Kethra managed to say before she collapsed to the floor. Sleep gas, Dongmin explained calmly over the communication system. Designed specifically for your species. Do not worry. You will wake up in a few hours with nothing worse than a headache. Throughout his ship, emergency bulkheads slammed shut with loud metallic sounds. The Vorth pirates found themselves trapped in separate sections, unable to help each other or escape back to their own vessel. Even if they had been conscious, they could not have broken through the reinforced barriers. Commander Velthak's voice came through the speakers, filled with rage and confusion. What have you done to my boarding parties? Answer me, human. They are taking a nap, Dongmin replied. I suggest you worry more about your own situation. Outside his ship, the Serenity's Edge was changing in ways that shocked the remaining Vorth. Panels of fake rust and damaged metal slid away to reveal the smooth, dark hull of a military vessel underneath. Weapon ports opened along the sides and bottom of the ship. Advanced sensor arrays extended from hidden compartments. Most impressive of all, the ship's engines suddenly roared to life with far more power than any cargo vessel should possess. The Serenity's Edge began moving with the speed and grace of a warship, not the slow, clumsy movements of a freighter. The two Vorth attack ships that had been guarding Dongmin's vessel were caught completely by surprise. They had been watching what they thought was a disabled cargo ship. Now they were facing something that looked like it belonged to a military fleet. Commander, one of the attack ship pilots called over the radio. The human ship is... It is not what we thought it was. Dongmin activated his weapon systems. Hidden plasma cannons emerged from concealed positions along his hull. Each weapon was designed with the latest human military technology. They were far more advanced than anything the Vorth Syndicate had ever seen. Attention, Vorth vessels, Dongmin announced on an open frequency. You have attacked a ship belonging to the Human Defense Force. You have exactly 30 seconds to power down your weapons and surrender, or I will show you why that was a very poor decision. The first fourth attack ship tried to run. Its pilot activated full power and attempted to escape into the nebula. But as the ship accelerated away, it ran into something unexpected. During the hour that the Vorth had been searching his ship, Dong Min had been busy. He had quietly deployed a field of smart mines around the area. The mines were small and nearly invisible to sensors, but they packed enough explosive power to cripple a ship. The fleeing attack ship triggered 3 mines in quick succession. Explosions rocked the vessel, destroying its engines and leaving it drifting helplessly in space. The pilot was still alive, but his ship was no longer a threat. The second attack ship tried a different approach. Instead of running, it turned toward Dongmin's vessel and fired all its weapons. Plasma bolts and missile streaks lit up the space between the two ships, but the Serenity's edge was no longer where the attack had been aimed. Dongmin's ship moved with impossible speed, dodging the incoming fire with movements that should have been impossible for a vessel of its size. Advanced gravity manipulation systems allowed it to change direction instantly, without the normal physics that limited other ships. The Vorth pilot fired again, trying to track the human ship's movements. But Dongmin was already behind him. A single, precise blast from a plasma cannon destroyed the attack ship's weapon systems. A second shot disabled its engines. The Vorth vessel was now as helpless as its companion. Impossible, Velthak whispered from his cruiser. No cargo ship could move like that. No trader could fight like that. You are correct, Commander, Dongmin said. No cargo ship could do these things. But then again, I'm not really a cargo ship captain. The Serenity's edge turned toward the Vorth cruiser. The larger ship was still connected to Dongmin's vessel through the docking tube, but Velthak was trying to detach and escape. Emergency systems on the cruiser were working to separate the two ships. I am Captain Dongmin, Human Defense Force Special Operations, Dongmin announced. Serial number 7749 Delta Victor. I have been tracking your syndicate's activities for 3 months. You have just provided me with everything I need to shut down your entire operation. The docking tube finally separated with a loud clang. The Vorth cruiser began to pull away from the human ship, its engines building power for escape. Velthak was clearly planning to abandon his disabled attack ships and flee. Running away, Commander? Dongmin asked. That is probably wise, but I'm afraid I cannot let you leave just yet. The Serenity's edge moved alongside the cruiser with fluid grace. The two ships were now flying side by side, close enough that their hulls were almost touching. The Vorth vessel was larger and more heavily armed, but it was also slower and less maneuverable. You want to see what a human ship really carries? Dongmin asked. Let me show you. More weapon ports opened along the Serenity's edge, but these were not the plasma cannons he had used on the attack ships. These were weapons that the Vorth had never seen before. Electromagnetic pulse generators, gravitic disruptors, and neural shock projectors. All technology that was years ahead of anything in the outer spiral. Lesson 1, Dongmin said calmly. Never assume that what you see is what you get. He fired a single EMP burst at the cruiser's main engine. The weapon did not destroy the engine, but it disabled all the electronic controls. The Vorth ship's acceleration dropped to 0 as its power systems failed. Lesson 2, Dongmin continued. Humans do not make easy prey. A second shot disabled the cruiser's weapons. A third took out their communication array. Each shot was precise and calculated, designed to cripple rather than kill. Commander Velthak found himself commanding a ship that could no longer fight, run, or call for help. His boarding parties were unconscious on the human vessel. His attack ships were drifting wrecks, and the helpless traitor he had tried to rob was systematically dismantling his entire force. Now then, Commander, Dongmin said pleasantly. Shall we discuss the terms of your surrender? Commander Velthak stared at his dead control panels in disbelief. His pride would not let him accept what had just happened. The idea that a single human had defeated his entire raiding force was impossible to understand. I will not surrender to a human, he snarled into his communication device. Vorth warriors do not bow to weak species, Dongmin sighed. He had hoped the commander would be more reasonable. Commander, you are currently sitting in a disabled ship. Your weapons are offline, your engines are dead, and your communications are destroyed. What exactly do you plan to fight me with? We still have emergency power, Velthak replied. And we have backup weapon systems. This battle is not over. Very well, Dongmin said sadly. I had hoped to end this without further damage. But if you insist on continuing, I will teach you about human military doctrine. Velthak ordered his crew to activate emergency systems. Backup generators came online throughout the cruiser. Secondary weapon batteries began charging their energy cells. The fourth commander was determined to prove that his species was superior to humans, even if it meant fighting with damaged equipment. The cruiser's remaining weapons fired at the Serenity's edge. The shots were not very accurate because most of the targeting systems were offline, but they showed that the Vorth ship was still dangerous. Dongmin did not return fire immediately. Instead, he moved his ship in a complex pattern around the cruiser. The Serenity's edge flowed through space like a dancer, always staying just out of range of the Vorth weapons. At the same time, Dongmin was scanning the enemy vessel with advanced sensors. "What are you doing, human?" Velthak demanded. "Fight like a warrior or run like a coward." "I am studying your ship," Dongmin replied calmly. "Human military doctrine requires complete intelligence before action. I am learning about your armor, your structure, your weak points. Every ship has vulnerabilities if you know where to look." The Vorth cruiser continued firing, but their shots were becoming less frequent as their backup power ran low. Velthak was getting frustrated with the humans' refusal to engage in direct combat. After several minutes of observation, Dongmin was satisfied with his analysis. He had identified 17 critical systems that could be disabled without killing the crew. More importantly, he had found a way to demonstrate human technological superiority that would be remembered throughout the pirate networks. "Lesson 3, Commander," Dongmin announced. "Humans do not just fight harder. We fight smarter." The first shot from the Serenity's edge was aimed at a small junction box on the cruiser's hull. The plasma beam was so precise that it cut through the armor plating without affecting anything around it. Inside the ship, the lights went out as the main power distribution system failed. "How did you—" Velthak started to ask, but his words were cut off as the second shot hit. This beam struck a sensor array that controlled the ship's gravity generators. The artificial gravity inside the cruiser flickered and failed, causing the crew to float helplessly in their control chairs. They could still breathe and function, but they could no longer move around their ship effectively. The third shot disabled the life support recycling system. The air would remain breathable for several hours, but the Vorth crew knew they were now dependent on their enemy for survival. "This is impossible," Velthak whispered as he floated near the ceiling of his command bridge. "Your weapons cannot be that accurate at this distance. Human targeting systems are quite advanced," Dongmin explained. "We have been developing military technology for much longer than most species realize. When you attack our ships, you are not just fighting individual humans. You are fighting thousands of years of military evolution." Shot after shot struck the cruiser with surgical precision. Each blast disabled a specific system without causing unnecessary damage. The waste recycling system failed, then the food preparation units, then the emergency beacon transmitters. Dongmin was methodically removing everything that made the ship functional, while leaving the crew alive and unharmed. The demonstration continued for 20 minutes. By the end, the Vorth cruiser was nothing more than a metal shell drifting in space. Every system was offline except for basic life support. The crew could not fight, could not run, and could not call for help. But Dongmin was not finished with his lesson. "Commander Velthak," he said, "I want you to understand something important. Everything I have just done to your ship I could have done in the first 30 seconds of our encounter. I chose to disable your vessels slowly so that you would have time to learn." "Learn what?" Velthak asked weakly. "That attacking human ships is not profitable," Dongmin replied. "That we are not the easy targets you believed us to be. And that we have the ability to destroy any pirate force that threatens our people." Dongmin activated a new system on his ship. A holographic projector created a three-dimensional image in the space between the two vessels. The image showed a detailed map of the outer spiral region, with dozens of red markers scattered throughout. These red markers show the locations of every Vorth Syndicate base, supply depot, and hidden shipyard, Dongmin explained. "I have been gathering this information for months. My ship's computers have been recording and analyzing every communication from your vessels. We know where you operate, how many ships you have, and who your leaders are." Velthak stared at the hologram in horror. The image showed information that was supposed to be secret. Some of the bases marked had never been detected by any military force, but how? The commander whispered. Human intelligence gathering is very thorough, Dongmin said. We do not just react to threats. We study them, understand them, and prepare to eliminate them completely. Your attack on my ship was not just piracy, Commander. It was the final piece of evidence we needed to justify a full military response. The hologram changed to show a new image. This one displayed human military ships moving through space toward the marked locations. Destroyers, cruisers, and carrier vessels were already approaching Vorth bases throughout the region. While we have been talking, human Defense Force fleets have been launching coordinated strikes against your organization, Dongmin continued. By tomorrow, the Vorth Syndicate will no longer exist as a threat to shipping in this sector. Commander Velthak realized that his decision to attack the human ship had not just doomed his raiding force. It had destroyed his entire criminal organization. You planned this, he said with growing understanding. You wanted us to attack you. I made myself an attractive target, Dongmin admitted. But the choice to attack was entirely yours. You could have ignored my ship and continued on your way. Instead, you chose to threaten human lives and steal human property. Now you will face the consequences of that choice. The hologram disappeared, leaving the two ships floating in the darkness of the nebula. The Vorth commander finally understood that he had not attacked a simple trader. He had challenged an entire civilization that was far more dangerous than he had ever imagined. The first Vorth pirates stepped through the airlock into Dongmin's ship. They were large creatures, each one standing over 2 meters tall. Their scaly skin was dark green and their forearms each held a different weapon. They moved carefully but confidently, like predators who had done this many times before. Dongmin watched them through hidden cameras as they entered his cargo bay. There were 6 Vorth in the first group, with more coming behind them. They spread out quickly and began scanning the area with handheld devices. Their leader, a female Vorth with silver markings on her arms, spoke into a communication device. Initial boarding complete, Commander Velthak, she reported. No resistance detected. The human appears to be hiding somewhere on the ship. Velthak's voice came through the ship's speakers. Find him quickly, Sub-Commander Kethra. Search the cargo and locate anything valuable. Our sensors show this ship is carrying more than basic supplies. Dongmin was actually sitting in his command chair watching everything. The Vorth could not see him because his bridge was protected by advanced stealth technology. To their sensors, that part of the ship appeared empty. He could hear their heavy footsteps as more boarding parties entered his vessel. The pirates began opening cargo containers and examining the contents. When they found the boxes marked as machine parts, they became excited. Kethra used a scanning device on one of the containers and her eyes widened. Commander, these are not ordinary machine parts, she reported. My scanner shows advanced technology inside these containers. This cargo is very valuable. Excellent, Velthak replied. Begin moving everything to our ship immediately. And find that human. I want to question him about where he got such advanced equipment. Dongmin smiled as he listened. The Vorth were doing exactly what he had expected. They were so focused on the cargo that they were not paying attention to the ship itself. More importantly, they were bringing more of their crew aboard his vessel. Through his sensors, Dongmin could see that 23 Vorth pirates were now inside his ship. The cruiser that was docked to his airlock had a crew of about 60. That meant more than 1/3 of their fighting force was now trapped inside his vessel. He activated his recording systems to capture everything the Vorth were doing. Their search patterns, their equipment, their communication codes. All of it would be useful information for the human defense force. But more importantly, Dongmin was gathering evidence of their piracy activities. The Vorth continued their search for nearly an hour. They found all the containers they were looking for and began moving them toward their ship. They also searched for Dongmin, checking every room and storage area they could find. They were getting frustrated because they could not locate him. Sub-Commander Kethra, Velthak said over the communication system. Status report. We have secured most of the valuable cargo, Commander, Kethra replied. But we still cannot find the human. It is as if he has disappeared from his own ship. That is impossible, Velthak said angrily. Humans cannot simply vanish. Search harder. Check every corner of that vessel. Dongmin decided it was time to make contact. He activated the ship's internal communication system and spoke in a calm, friendly voice. Hello there, he said. I hope you are finding everything you need. The Vorth pirate stopped moving and looked around in confusion. They could hear his voice but could not tell where it was coming from. Where are you, human? Kethra demanded, raising her weapons. I am right here on my ship, Dongmin replied. The same place I have been this whole time. You seem to be having trouble finding me. Velthak's voice came through the speakers, filled with anger. Stop playing games, human. Show yourself immediately or we will start damaging your ship. Oh, I do not think you want to damage my ship, Dongmin said pleasantly. You see, you are currently inside it, and I have some very interesting security systems. The Vorth looked at each other nervously. Kethra spoke into her communication device. Commander, the human is threatening us. Should we retreat to our ship? No, Velthak replied firmly.
He is just trying to scare you.
He is one weak human against 23 Vorth warriors. Continue the search and ignore his threats. Dongmin chuckled softly. Weak human? That is an interesting assumption. Tell me, Commander Velthak, have you ever heard the old Earth saying about assumptions? I do not care about your human sayings, Velthak snapped. You will surrender now or face the consequences. The consequences, Dongmin repeated thoughtfully. Yes, let us talk about consequences. You have boarded my ship without permission. You have stolen my cargo. You have threatened my life. In human space, these actions have very serious consequences. You are not in human space, fool, Velthak laughed. You are in the outer spiral where might makes right, and we have more might than one scared human. Dongmin looked at his control panels. All systems showed green. His hidden weapons were charged and ready. His defensive systems were active. Most importantly, his special security measures were prepared. Commander Velthak, he said politely, I think there has been a misunderstanding. You seem to believe that you are the predators in this situation, but I must correct you. What are you talking about? Velthak demanded. Dongmin's voice became cold and professional. You have not attacked a cargo ship, Commander. You have attacked a human military vessel, and in about 10 seconds you are going to learn the difference. The Vorth pirates inside his ship began moving toward the airlock, suddenly understanding that something was very wrong, but it was too late. Dongmin's finger moved toward the activation switch for his security systems. Welcome to school, Commander Velthak, he said quietly. Class is now in session. The stars looked cold and distant through the viewport of the Serenity's edge. Captain Dongmin sat in his pilot chair, watching the empty space around his ship. His fingers moved across the control panel with practiced ease. The ship was old and looked worn down from the outside. Paint was peeling off the hull, and some of the external lights flickered when they worked at all. Anyone looking at the Serenity's edge would think it was just another cargo ship, the kind that carried basic supplies between colonies, the kind that pirates loved to attack because they were easy targets. Dongmin liked it that way. He had spent 3 years making his ship look harmless and weak, but looks could be very wrong. Dongmin was 42 years old and had short black hair with some gray at the sides. He wore a simple brown jacket over a white shirt. His hands were steady and his eyes were always watching. He had learned to watch everything. During his 15 years in the human defense force, those years had taught him many things about staying alive in dangerous space. The cargo hold behind him was full of boxes marked as machine, parts, and medical supplies. Most people would think they were boring trade goods. They would be wrong about that too. Hidden inside those boxes were prototype weapons, advanced computer systems, and technology that could change how wars were fought. Dongmin was taking them to allied species who helped humans in the outer regions of space. His journey had started 3 days ago from New Busan, a human colony near the edge of known space. The trip should take 5 more days if everything went well. But Dongmin had learned that things rarely went well in the outer spiral. This part of space was full of pirates, smugglers, and worse things. The navigation computer beeped softly. Dongmin looked at the screen and saw they were approaching the Keth Nebula. The nebula was a huge cloud of gas and dust that made sensors work poorly. Ships could hide in there easily. It was also the fastest way to reach his destination. Dongmin made a decision. He would go through the nebula instead of around it. The longer route would take 2 extra days, and he had promised to deliver his cargo on time. He adjusted the ship's course and flew into the purple and blue clouds of the nebula. Inside the nebula, visibility was poor. The ship's sensors could only see a few kilometers in any direction. Dongmin reduced speed and watched his instruments carefully. This was exactly the kind of place where pirates like to wait for victims. After an hour of slow flying, his sensors detected something. 3 ships were moving toward him from different directions. Dongmin's heart rate stayed steady, but his muscles tensed. He had been expecting this. The ships were getting closer. Dongmin could see their basic designs on his scanner. 2 were small and fast, attack ships built for quick strikes. The third was much larger, a heavy cruiser with serious weapons. All 3 had the markings of the Vorth Syndicate. Dongmin knew about the Vorth. They were a species that looked like large lizards with 4 arms. They were stronger than humans and had thick, scaly skin that could stop small weapons. Most importantly, they thought humans were weak and easy to defeat. The Vorth Syndicate had been attacking human cargo ships for months. The lead ship sent him a message. Dongmin accepted the communication and saw the face of a Vorth commander on his screen. The alien had yellow eyes and sharp teeth. Scars covered the left side of his face. "Human ship, this is Commander Velthak of the Vorth Syndicate," the alien said in broken but understandable human language. "You will stop your engines and prepare to be boarded. Give us your cargo and we might let you live." Dongmin put on his best frightened expression. His voice shook when he replied, "Please, I'm just a trader. I only have basic supplies. Nothing valuable." Velthak laughed, showing all his sharp teeth. "All human cargo is valuable to us. Stop your ship now or we will stop it for you." Okay, Dongmin said, making his voice sound panicked. "I'm shutting down my engines. Please don't hurt me." Dongmin slowly reduced power to his engines. The Serenity's edge began to drift in space, looking helpless, but his fingers were quietly working on other controls. He activated hidden recording systems that would capture everything about the Vorth ships. Their weapon types, their movement patterns, their communication frequencies, all information that could help other humans later. The 3 Vorth ships moved closer. Dongmin could see their weapons were charged and ready to fire. The attack ships took positions on either side of his vessel, while the cruiser approached from behind. It was a standard pirate formation designed to prevent escape. "Smart move, human," Velthak said over the communication link. "We will board your ship now. Do not try anything stupid." Dongmin nodded quickly. "I understand. I won't cause any trouble." As the Vorth cruiser got closer, Dongmin made final preparations. He quietly activated internal security systems and checked that his hidden weapons were ready. His grandfather had taught him an old saying when he was young. "The tiger waits in tall grass." Dongmin had been waiting in tall grass for a long time. The Vorth commander was about to learn why attacking a human ship was a very bad idea. Dongmin watched the cruiser extend its docking tube toward his ship's airlock. The metal tube connected with a soft thump that he could feel through the floor. Red lights on his control panel showed that the airlock was being opened from the outside. "Boarding commencing," Velthak announced. "Remain calm, human, and this will be over quickly." Dongmin smiled for the first time since the encounter began. "Yes," he said quietly to himself. "This will definitely be over quickly." On his hidden control panel, a green light showed that all systems were ready. The Vorth boarding parties were about to enter his ship. They thought they were about to rob a helpless human trader. They were about to discover what happened when someone attacked the wrong human ship.